Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and you may know that I am extremely concerned about what's happened down in Atlanta. There have been a group of eight school teachers eight out of 10 who went on trial. 10 went on trial. From what I understand, eight of them received jail sentences. And I just found this to be absolutely outrageous. I think this is a very slippery slope. It's becoming a very ugly situation, and it deeply concerns me. So, a person I wanted to kind of talk to about some of this is Mr. Roosevelt Mitchell, aka the Disability Scholar. He's earning a PhD in Education Administration. He also knows a lot about how schools work and how this thing goes down. And so, I want to ask my brother, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks a lot for having me, brother.
No problem, no problem. Now, I heard from the daughter of one of the mothers who is on her way to prison as a result of this cheating scandal that occurred down in Atlanta. But I also saw your video where you were concerned as well. You were saying, as an educator, as someone who's deeply embedded in the educational system, you've taught in schools for many years, you find this to be incredibly problematic. Please explain your concerns about what you've been seeing down in Atlanta.
Well, our judicial system is set up on precedent. So once we open up that door of charging educators with a racketeering charge, which was mainly created for crime bosses and crime families, once we open up that door and lawyers can use that as precedent to lock up other educators, and then it gets real problematic because it's twofold for me. I'm an educator who tests yearly, and I also have been indicted for something I didn't do. I was indicted as a school teacher for something that happened in a public park. I was in a public park one day. The police, as soon as I got there, as soon as I got out of the car, I saw the police running with guns. They arrested 5 guys. They found drugs outside on the ground. They took those guys to jail. Everybody went home. 2 years later, I get to work. The police went and talked to my principal and convinced them that I did something, that I had an indictment. They made me get in the back of the police car, took me downtown. So I'm asking, hey, man, what's going on? They said, well, you have an indictment. They showed me the indictment. My dad and I had the same name. It had his picture, his social security number, his birthday. I said, that's not my indictment. They said, no, well, we made a mistake. I said, how you make a mistake on an indictment that's been sealed since last year? I said, it's been sealed. They said, well, they said that we can just write your information in. So I said, well, I didn't have no drugs on me, so what did I do? They said, well, you are the only credible witness, so we want you to tell us whose it was. I said, well, I just got there. I said, so I don't know whose it was. They said, well, you worked hard. You were a school teacher. So they started waving my livelihood over my head. You were a school teacher. They said, well, you tell us it's somebody's, and you just say it's somebody's, and we'll take you back to work. We'll call your superintendent, and we'll tell him that it was an honest mistake. I said, look, I'm not sending nobody to jail when I just got there. I said, no, I'm not doing it. So after 30, 45 minutes of them playing good cop, bad cop, the chief of police looked at me and said, hey, what is it going to take for you to say it's one of theirs? I looked at him in his face and I said, take me to jail. I'm not sending nobody to jail. So they took me to jail. I had to bond out. My bond was $25,000. I had to bond out. When the bondsman came and got me, he said, I've never seen anything like this, man. He said, they shouldn't be able to do this. I feel bad about taking your money, man. So because my bond was so high, I had to get a lawyer. I couldn't get a public defender. I had to get a lawyer, which the lawyer looked at it and laughed at it and said, they can't just write the information in with a pen. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Boyce, I keep the indictment on my desk to remind me every day of the struggle for other people who are not guilty. So when I juxtapose my position, and mind you, that whole debacle cost me thousands of dollars. The superintendent told me to stay off the school premises until it was settled, and then they end up throwing it out because they knew they had no case because I didn't do anything. But if all I had to do was to just say it was one of whoever they wanted me to, and that person would have went to jail, and that person was not guilty because ultimately everybody was found not guilty. Those guys went on to get married. They have families. They take their kids to school. They take them to soccer practice. 2-parent households, right? So I would destroy somebody's life because I was concerned about my livelihood, my retirement, what I had built, right? So when I look at my situation, then look at the situation down in Atlanta, don't you find it strange how it was 35 educators indicted, but 21 took plea deals, but you never hear anything about their deals. You never read anything about them. You never hear anything about them. So at all. So, and I think a few of them actually testified. And then when the light bulb really went off, when the Williamson lady, the fourth grade teacher, her lawyer told the judge, he said, "Hey, I'm the only person who sat through 3 trials, heard the information 3 times, and heard 3 different stories by the same witnesses." So there's no telling what those 21 people were coerced to say on the stand to keep their jobs or to keep their retirement or to not be in a position that I was put in, or these people who saying it was free put in. So after being in that situation, I can see under the surface that there's more to it than that. And my last point is also people say, well, why didn't they take the plea deal? Why didn't they take the plea deal? Well, what was attached to the plea deal was they had to waive their rights to an appeal. Now, if the evidence was so overwhelming and the case was so airtight, why is that part of the plea deal to waive your appeal? Why you can't appeal it? Right? So it's not adding up all across the board. So that's what concerns me, because I know that it was more of a conspiracy on the other side than what they're actually trying to say.
Well, first of all, I can tell people I didn't expect you to tell me all that. I had no idea about that story and what you went through. It hurts me to my core, because if you had not had the courage to stand up to the chief of police and be willing to go to jail, other innocent people would have gone to jail. Some lives would have been destroyed. And in prison is not a good place. It's a place of torture. It's a place where terrible things happen to people, where people are destroyed and they come out and they sometimes hurt other people because of what they've gone through. And I think that we have a reason to be deeply concerned about not just where the system is, but where it's going. If you look at these teachers down in Atlanta, I don't think it's a coincidence that all the teachers that happen to get incarcerated on this RICO charge are black. They've had white teachers all around the country that have done the same thing. Really, none of them should go to jail. I mean, this is not an offense you should be jailed for, period. But it is kind of interesting that they also happen to be black, right? And you got this judge, what's his name, Baxter? I can't remember his last name.
Baxter.
Yeah, this guy he sounds like the biggest jerk, most arrogant prick I've ever seen on the stand, saying, "Well, I don't like to send people to jail, but what you did, this is the worst thing." I think he said this is the worst thing to ever happen in this city.
Exactly.
You fool! You talking about Atlanta? They've lynched people in Atlanta. People have been murdered in Atlanta. They had slavery in Atlanta. You're going to try to say this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Some teachers misappropriating a test, cheating on tests, whatever you want to call it, that's the worst scandal in Atlanta. What kind of judge are you? What kind of human being are you to even think that it's okay to send these mothers, grandmothers, and fathers and grandfathers to jail for something where they should at worst have been fired, maybe been forced to pay restitution? The RICO charges, as people have said repeatedly, they were not meant for school teachers. They were meant for gangsters.
Exactly.
And what people don't understand is that this organized crime charge, it can be applied to pretty much anything. I mean, if me and you go into the school file cabinet and take a couple extra ink pens we're not supposed to take, and we conspire to get those ink pens, then that's organized crime. We've made we planted a conspiracy to commit a crime, technically, to steal something, technically. So then if you get caught up in this one-dimensional thinking, this whole right is right and wrong is wrong nonsense, without looking at the continuum, then what'll happen is somebody will say, well, yeah, but you did steal, you did commit a crime, you did break the law, so therefore you deserve whatever the law gives you. You could do that with a speeding ticket. I could give somebody 100 years in prison because you were going 71 in a 65-mile-an-hour zone and say, yeah, but you did break the law, and if you didn't want to get 100 years in prison, you shouldn't have broke the law. That's really what the direction that we're going with this, and that's what really bothers me.
Yes, because that what kind of justice is that? Well, I can't even call it justice when you are accused of something, and then because you say I didn't do it, you get a harsher or twice as harsh sentence for basically calling the state a lie, right? I don't think that's justice either. That they give them 20 years because they didn't take out the plea deal, and then everybody jump on their side. Well, they should have took the plea deal. Well, if they didn't do it, just like in my case, I didn't do it. I wasn't going to sit and say I did something, and they charged me with a class B and C felony for possession, and I was nowhere near it. I said, I'm not going to, plead guilty just to keep something that I know, right? So I understand that aspect, and a lot of people don't understand how the judicial system actually works. So so I've seen the dark side of it, and I understand that. And I mean, again, I think it's just highly suspicious how we don't ever hear anything about the 21 people who played out the lesser charges. Because if they was cheating and they played out the lesser charges, then they still some cheaters. They still shouldn't be there, right? They should go to jail. They should go to jail like everybody else. But because they agreed that they did something, then all of a sudden, they're less cheaters than the people who got sentenced to 20 years and all that? Right. See, it don't add up, and it's not fair.
Well, to some extent, our feds are becoming a lot like the Nazis in the sense that once they grab you into the system, whether you're innocent or not, you're going to be victimized by that system.
Right.
If you're an innocent
Right.
person who's been falsely accused, first thing that they're gonna do. I talked to someone I know who's a district attorney, assistant district attorney recently, and she said our procedure is first thing we do is we get you to plead out like right away. And so that means
Right.
that even if you didn't do it, you're not going to have an opportunity to have all the evidence reviewed. You're basically being told, okay, either take this lesser penalty, which might be something on your record, it might mean jail time, it might mean whatever, or you can take the risk. You can roll the higher dice and go in front of this jury. But if you do, then you're going to get a penalty that's 20 times greater than the one we just
Exactly.
offered you right now. So it's like either go to jail or either go to jail as an innocent man, or go to jail longer as a found guilty person. And what's really interesting as well is that you have a lot of people. It's been proven time and time again, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people, mostly black, who are getting out of jail because they're finding out that they did not commit their crimes. But guess what?
Exactly.
Many of them were kept in prison for longer periods of time because they told the truth, because they went before the parole board and said, I refuse to take responsibility for something I did not do. They were tortured even more. That's a form of torture. I mean, that's something that almost sounds like something they would do during medieval times. Where they would
Right.
basically say, if you don't admit that you committed the crime, then we're going to punish you like you did. And so
Exactly.
that's not
Exactly.
justice. That's what's been being done to
Exactly.
people all over the country. And so,
Exactly.
one of the things I'll say, and I definitely want to hear more of your take on this, is what's interesting to me about your story, which is why I think your sacrifice in terms of dealing with the system is so important, is that a lot of people are under the false impression that if you are arrested or if you go to jail, you are a bad person, therefore you deserve whatever happens to you. You should have made better choices. You should have went to school. You should have worked hard. Well, last time I checked, you make good choices as a human being. You went to
Right.
school. You went to school longer than
Right.
99% of the people you're ever going to meet. You have always worked hard. You are
Right.
a successful scholar in every dimension, and yet you were still threatened. You were taken to jail and then threatened with additional jail time because you would not go in that system and tell a lie that was going to destroy somebody's life. So I think that says something about the fact that this affects all of us, not just those people
Not
over
just
there.
exactly. And that's what I tell people, right? Because the only thing I was guilty of was being the first person to graduate, to go to college and graduate college in my family, to serve my community, right? And to be a man of the community. So that's all I was guilty of. So based on that, I was the only credible witness. So we're going to waive your livelihood over your head so you can send somebody else to jail so we can clear our cabinets of files or whatever they want to do. So that's why this case still keeps me up at night, because I know that this has happened to me, and this is just not an Atlanta issue or a Washington D.C. issue, but it's an issue everywhere. Because again, once we open up this vessel, it's never going to stop.
Well, I almost see it like a house Negro, field Negro divide that was created by Massa on the plantation. In this situation, you are technically what they might consider to be the quote-unquote house Negro, in the sense, those of us educated black people, right? Because because the white man take good care of us. He pays our bills. He hooks us up. The system hooks us up. Let's just say it like that. I don't want to say the white man, because people think that's racist when you say that, even though black people didn't create this system last time I checked. But we're kind of the house Negroes. And then you got black people who are the quote unquote field Negroes, maybe those who have a little less education, a little less money, etc. So they were basically grabbing the house Negro, which would be you or I, it could
Yeah,
happen to
exactly.
me or you, anybody,
Yeah,
and saying that, okay, look, you're a credible witness. You're the person that can get us to send this Negro off to prison. So you're credible. You're an educator. You got all this. You can sit in front of a jury and they'll believe you because
exactly.
because you are a good person, right? And they're using that to get you to tell a lie to send the field Negro to prison. To basically
Exactly.
send other black people off to jail, and I think that that game's been played with us all the time. In fact, it's also being played with us politically because many of us in the black middle and upper class, we don't care what's happening to poor black people. I mean, remember the mass incarceration epidemic is not just hitting black people. Actually, it's interesting.
Right.
There's an epidemic across America. When you look at the data, America incarcerates more of its citizens than any country in the world. But then you go deeper. Most of those citizens are not just any American. It's mostly black men. Then you go deeper though. It's not just all black men. It's mostly poor black men who didn't finish high school. And when you get to
Right.
that scenario, that little core of the epidemic, the statistics are just through the roof in terms of percentages of men that are being sent to prison. So we're being divided by being told this is not your problem. Why should you worry about this? You're
Right.
good,
Exactly.
you're a law-abiding citizen. But guess what? You
Right.
saw that out of Arizona State where that professor got body slammed by that cop because she was jaywalking. I mean, you saw Henry Louis Gates, how how
Exactly.
what he went through trying to get into his own
Yep.
house. You see what's happening to you. I think this is an issue that should affect all of us. And and so actually, I don't want to stray too much from the Atlanta school teachers thing. I'm going to ask you, um, you know, what do you think? I mean, when you please give me more of your analysis as an educator, as a fellow educator, about what you're kind of seeing in Atlanta in terms of what mortified you the most about this. Did you see this coming at all as an educator?
I didn't see it coming at all because a few years ago it was Michelle Rhee in Washington D.C. They a few years ago it was even more educators who was caught up in a ring or accused of doing the same thing, but nothing came of it. And I think that's why with Atlanta I was so shocked about the racketeering because in a conspiracy because that way they was able to hinge them on something major. But again, a 2013 federal study said they show evidence of this cheating in 40 out of 50 states. So this is going on everywhere, and every time, teachers may not change answers, but every time a child is passed on who can't read on grade level, is just like the Atlanta school teachers. So this is going on everywhere. So and last time I checked, the prison industrial complex just didn't start yesterday. They didn't start building prisons, based on the people, the kids who can read, in third grade or whatever, a week ago, right? So it's been going on. So for them to all of a sudden have a judge like that and that's the irony of it too. I was on my lunch break. Watching the sentence, no, watching the conviction actually, and I have to say this about the judge. If we can get more judges to care that much about black kids' education, I think we would be all right, man. Because he all of a sudden he didn't care about black kids' education until it was time to send some black educators to jail. All of a sudden, this is not a victimless crime. This is the only option these kids had. And then what frustrated me at work, and I told my principal, I think I need to run to the store and get and grab some coffee because I'm upset. When he as soon as they were convicted, he said, "Y'all got to go to jail today." The lawyer said, "Why we got to go to jail today?" He said, "Because y'all convicted felons." He said, "Hold on, they've been out on bond for the last 6 or 7 months, coming to court, never been late, never missed court. So why all of a sudden they can't wait until they get sentenced before they go to jail? Because y'all convicted felons, y'all going to jail today." So they left kids at daycare. They didn't make any plans to go to jail. So for him to just treat them from people of the community to all of a sudden you a convicted felon, oh man, that really hurt me as an individual and as an educator, right? So
Man,
it was depressing.
I got to end this video because I'm about to punch a hole in my computer screen right now. If you gave a damn about the kids, you wouldn't have forced them to marinate in this horrible educational system in the first place. You know, the fact is that those kids been getting screwed long before this scandal ever took place,
Exactly.
and you cannot use these teachers as a scapegoat. It's absolutely outrageous. We're gonna talk about this later, man. I gotta hang up, brother.
All right.
I'm literally so mad that I'm scared I'm gonna say something that's gonna get me in trouble. So we're gonna finish this conversation later. Thank you very much, brother. Everybody, this is Roosevelt Mitchell, aka the Disability Scholar. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.